All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Looking at the local yellow dwarf here in 304 angstroms to see lots of filamentary activity, especially on the western portion of the solar disk. Let's look at the north. Giant filament up there. Larger than the entire planet Earth, I might add. And we see great examples of why we must monitor the sun, even if there are no X-ray flares or sunspots, as there's a lot more activity to this thing than just sunspots. So, get to it in a minute. Here's the lower portion as well as time and date stamps, looking at about 9 hours and 15 minutes. And we see great examples of how the sun is able to eject material without any activity, no X-ray flares, no kind of real noteworthy stuff happening, except filaments being magnetically ejected. And let's look at a high-res image here in intensitygram to show you how there are 0 sunspots. As we see in intensitygram, just a blank disk, sunspot free, and we're about to break the record for the modern age in only 3 days. If we still see 0 sunspots in the next 3 days, we'll break the sunspot minimum record of 2008. Now let's look at the LASCO C2 here, as we see lots of ejecta coming out of the far side of the sun, and that's all directed toward stereo A, or perhaps even east of stereo A. But that's the last about 24 hours of data from the LASCO C2. And we left links to the LASCO movie theater if you want to look up your own movies. Before we move on to more data, let's complain. I'll complain about the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, where the GOES X-ray imager has been replaced by a 195 angstroms imager. We need the X-ray imager back. NOAA, what's the deal? Don't harass NOAA and NASA. 10.7 centimeter radio flux at 71. And let's just look at the magnetic environment as well as 171 angstroms here. There's 171 angstroms, and we'll just fade to the magnetogram so you can see the magnetically active regions, which are not particularly active, but they are regions. And there you can see the polarity of those environments. And we're not going to get super in-depth into it, as there's plenty of stuff to discuss, such as the GOES electron flux, which is very cratered as far as the GOES 16 is concerned, and slightly less cratered as far as the GOES 14 is concerned. And by the way, thanks to our latest subscribers, we appreciate the support. Now, the relativistic electrons have not been updated here, so look for that coming soon. GOES magnetometers showing this extreme dip here. That was the crossing of the heliospheric current sheet, we would assume, without making an ass out of you or me. As we are now, well, hey, welcome to the North Pole associated portion of the heliospheric current sheet, folks. The environment has changed, and you can see the Earth's field force line here, snapping across into the green portion of the current sheet, which is the depiction of the North Pole charged portion. Now that North Z field is charging the portion of the current sheet that the Earth's field line is primarily snapped to. This data 2 hours and 8 minutes old. And we do see some suspended plasma out here. That could be the indication of a sunspot, or perhaps just a plage. And we're not going to get super into looking at stereo A right now, because, again, there's a lot of activity associated with the sun, not just sunspots or radio flux. And let's look at the real-time solar wind. As of the real time of 424, that's 424 Eastern Standard Time on 12/12. And phi angle is around 286 degrees. Solar wind density 2.99 protons per cubic centimeter. And we've just seen a ramp up in the solar wind speed there to 438 kilometers a second. So that's something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And yeah, ions. Are you familiar with ions? And we see the phi angle has shifted around as we did show prep. So again, watching the solar wind speed. We do see some missing data back here on both spacecraft around 1300 yesterday UT, possibly a cosmic ray flux, and we will go over cosmic rays momentarily. Next, we'll look at the geospace magnetosphere movies. And as we approach the solstice, you'll see a very significant angle when you look at the meridional plane view here, and that is associated with the Earth's orbit, ultimately. And we're not going to talk about obliquity and eccentricity and all that sort of stuff at this point. We're just going to move on to ground magnetic perturbations. And we do see some over the Canadian North Pole, as well as over the South Pole, which is still showing signs of creeping into the southern Indian Ocean. And we'll just let that play through before we move on to the ionosphere movie. And we're looking at 6 hours of data there. Ionosphere still looking anomalous over the South Pacific. Around the equator there, south of Hawaii, showing charge-ups at nighttime. And this has been continuing on for weeks here, associated with the weak magnetosphere, apparently. Without conjecturing anything into how it works, we're just going to report the KP index at 2. And we're going to go to cosmic rays next. And by the way, we've left links to this network of cosmic array stations site. First, let's go to Apatity and Barentsburg. And here are the Apatity and Barentsburg neutron monitors. Actually, pretty low levels here in Apatity over the past couple of days. A sudden drop. And a downtick at Barentsburg as well. Next, we'll look at Athens. And the neutron monitor at Athens is showing just basically a nominal range. Next, we've got Mexico City. The Mexico City Cosmic Ray Observatory, showing a significant uptick over the past few hours, although overall a nominal range for the entire past 30 days. Next is the Moscow neutron monitor, and we're showing some wild striations there in the range, although once again pretty flat over the past 30 days. And last but not least, we've got Oulu and some Antarctican monitors. There's Oulu, Finland, pretty flat over the past 30 days. DOMC Antarctica, similarly flat, although we did see a pretty big spike there on the 10th. And DOMB Antarctica still not returning data. And again, vanishing act or not, links to the network of cosmic ray stations data site are below the video. And we've reappeared for your viewing pleasure to bring you the earthquake rundown. We don't see any 6 magnitude quakes, but there was a quake very close to my backyard yesterday morning at 9:41 at a 2.5 magnitude at Castle, Virginia. Anyway, we see a bunch of deep quakes kicking off, including this 2.5 in Alaska, and a series of 5 magnitude quakes all along the western Pacific Rim. Here's a deep quake at Chile, that 4.2 magnitudes at 114 kilometers depth. Very deep quake at Russia, 424 kilometers depth at a 4.2 magnitude. Another deep quake at Alaska, as we see an uptick in Alaskan seismicity. Deep quake at Japan, 4.3 magnitude, 369 kilometers depth. Just scrolling up the list here for y'all to see. 5.2 at Indonesia, that one's at depth, as well as a 4.1. Those two coming just a minute apart at slightly different locations, different magnitudes, and similar depths. And last on the list, just coming in a couple hours ago from when we made the video, a 4.9 in Western South America, Argentina that is, at 190.5 kilometers depth. Let's look at windy.com to see where the pressure systems are located. By the way, watch yesterday's video as we cite an article about how finally mainstream science is affirming the fact that hurricanes are associated with earthquakes. Now, the mechanism's under debate, but let's just let this advance. Now, we're going into forecast mode here, looking at the GFS forecast of where we anticipate pressure systems to be 24 hours from when we made the video. Now, keep in mind, folks, while we report a lot of real-time data on the videos, we also report some stuff that could be looked at greatly in the future. So, tips on how to use the channel. Watch our old videos. You may discover something you were not aware of. And I vanished again, but then I reappeared to talk about Wakari, otherwise known as White Island. Now, this volcanic island has caused, we're expecting it to be 16 deaths at this point, as tourists were in places where they were not supposed to be located. And there are criminal investigations underway, by the way. Now, if you've got an active volcano and somebody's offering you a tour of it, perhaps consider not going, as this death toll seen at 16, and this article was just updated. Let me hit refresh. Just updated 2 hours ago. So while we did our 1 hour of show prep to get this production ready for you, it's been updated only 2 hours ago. So anyway, they're going to attempt to recover bodies, putting emergency personnel in further danger, as the thing could erupt some more, and there's a significantly high probability forecasted for continued eruption of the White Volcano. If you want to monitor it, check out geonet.nz, and that's going to be probably the most up-to-date monitoring, as that's New Zealand's own volcanic monitoring system. Let's look at the earthquakes of the past 24, which include Mount Abico still erupting, producing a 14,000-foot ash plume now, so an uptick there. Mount Aso, unknown cloud, possible activity. Don't set down a campsite on Mount Aso. Sakurajima, flight level 8,000 there. Sanjiangapi exploding, flight level 8,000 there. Explosive activity at Tokono as well, flight level 6,000. Fuego, 15,000-foot ash plume there. Sangay also exploding, remnant volcanic ash producing a plume of 19,000 feet. Revenador exploding, 15,000-foot plume there. Sabancaya exploding, 25,000-foot plume there. And intermittent emissions from Nevados de Chilean. Please do not do the triple Lindy over Sabancaya down in Peru. Happy anniversary to smAsho staff. Congratulate me on putting up with you for the past 5 years. And it's 12/12. Do you know where your planets are? Check it out. Mercury and Mars are in alignment. Are you freaking out about it? It's a Mercury, Sun, Uranus, Mars conjunction. Is Haumea going to turn into Nibiru and turn into a neutron star and suck the life out of the sun and re-starialize Saturn and Jupiter and throw Earth out of its orbit and turn it into a polar solar orbit? Anyway, here's where things will be in about a week. There's where things will be in a week on the 19th, as we'll have a gibbous waning. That's the moon, by the way. Anyway, it's currently 4:36. Do you know where your constellations are? If you've got an eastern horizon over here on the east coast of the U.S., go check out Mars, just rising over the Golden Sea. Are you familiar with the smAsho mission and how it's to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics? In the event that our channel suddenly vanishes from YouTube, please follow us on other social media such as BitChute, Minds.com, Gab.com/smAshomash. But most importantly, actually least importantly, follow us on Instagram also. To get brilliant tidbits like that, as well as other insight into things you may not otherwise see. And please consider becoming a patron. That's patreon.com/smAshomash. Here's a lightning scenario right now. Looking at the real-time lightning maps on lightningmaps.org. The next time you hear thunder, perhaps check it out. Here's a value-added service in form of the U.S. Doppler radar animation. As some snow continues to fall in Pennsylvania, but only a couple little showers and flurries most likely. Heavy snow still hitting places like Wisconsin and Minnesota, not to mention southeastern Idaho, as potato country is coated, blanketed. And let's resubmit the form here to check out the water vapor map, courtesy of the NASA GOES interactive weather satellites. And next time you're confused about what the Doppler's showing you, check out water vapor maps. Type in NASA GOES interactive weather satellite in a web search, perhaps an objective one. And let's just take a look at this zone over New Mexico. As there's a pressure gradient. And let's don't get into the atmospheric physics of what that means, but check it out. There's some moist air just smashing and mashing, bashing its way into that dry air, just smashing in there, just smashing in. Anyway, let's move on to the jet streams of the Western world. Here's nullschool.net. And we see some extreme bends here. Let's look at the 10 hectopascal view for once to see what's going on in the northerly flow. And there's the geographic north. And we've got some high altitude anomalies going on as winter takes its time setting in. Here's the south, looking a little bit more organized from a cosmic perspective, folks. And let's drop this back down to flight level 25,000 here to look at the eastern world's jets and move on. By the way, thanks everybody who tunes into the live streams and or the live premiere events. We appreciate that. And thanks for all the interaction. It's always interesting. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, again, please do so via patreon.com/smAshomash, the real source of funding for the channel. Or if you're not a fan of Patreon because of various policies or for whatever reason, maybe because they take a cut, check out paypal.me/smAshomash and donate to the cause that way. By the way, we will be a nonprofit organization soon, creating tax-deductible donation status. Give it to us instead of Uncle Sam, folks. Or perhaps instead of your state or local government. And please don't forget to press like and subscribe on YouTube, where we wonder what the algorithms have in them today. And I've pressed refresh just to show you our latest thumbnail. So again, please follow us on various social medias. And by the way, our live streams have been going up on Twitch, such as yesterday and the day before. And thanks, Smash Team. Get ready for bonus features where we talk about things that are fast, such as the SR-71 Blackbird. It's a scramjet, folks. It's basically a rocket plane which has a sapphire windshield that heats up to 800 degrees and is so extreme that it leaks hydraulics and fuel while sitting on the runway, as it needs to be tuned for the pressure environment of being nearly in space. Let's talk about some spaced out people, the Britons. If at first you don't succeed at Brexiting, try again, as England attempts to remain in the horrific European Union, which is crumbling as we speak, as assets flee. The UK should be fleeing also. Now, will the UK bring down the euro? Are US bond yields associated with the weakness in the euro? Are countries like Greece and Italy pulling the euro down, being propped up in a totally inappropriate fashion by prosperous countries like Germany? Anyway, apparently they're going to re-vote on Brexit, because if at first you don't receive the centralized nod of approval from your people to be part of a ridiculous centralized socialist force sucking the money out of your country and giving it to non-producing countries, then please vote to stay in the EU. Now, I congratulated the UK when they voted to leave the EU. I don't know why they're still in there or what is going on. What is up with the UK? Get the heck out of the EU. And get the heck into our 3C405 shirt, which is coming, by the way, folks. It's coming. Here's the design. It's a radio image of Cygnus A, the massive radio galaxy, and a link to smAsho.org. Basically, this is an appeal to the naming conventions in astronomy and cosmology. Cygnus A, the most significant radio source in the entire sky, second only to the sun, yet located 530 million light years away. Cygnus A, just a radio source. Nothing to see here, folks. Look for the shirt coming at a $25 price point. And that's $25 plus shipping, by the way. Let's talk about global warming nonsense. Now, I would note that these scientists from, I believe they're from Ireland, they really figured out how to purchase military surplus items, which is why she has Hungarian military pants on, and he has Italian military pants on, and he has Old Navy camo capris on. They're trying to figure out which of the world's trees are climate ready. They figured out that apparently evergreens are more climate ready than deciduous trees, because they're really worried about the planet getting warm and all kinds of stuff like that happening. And so they've done some really great research. They've gone on this wonderful vacation to Fiji, and they've really been studying the heck out of trees and what'll happen to them in the event that the planet gets warmer. Anyway, the next step is to study the patterns at a species level, as botanists want to use their incredible 30-year data set to identify the most climate-ready trees for future forests. Because they're really worried that sea levels are going to rise and forests are just going to be inundated, and it's very scary, and it's all because of carbon dioxide and ridiculous climate models that suggest carbon dioxide has anything to do with the climate. Let's talk about how hot the planet is. What's going on in the northern hemisphere? How about 2 standard deviations higher snow than normal? Now, this is the 30-year standard deviation, this light blue area, and it's darn close to 2 standard deviations above normal, or you could say 200 gigatons, 200 billion tons of snow for the total northern hemisphere snow mass. Now, of course, Fiji, is Fiji in the northern hemisphere? I think it is. In any case, let's look at some more data. How about the snow depth? Now, everybody's very worried about Greenland, and we covered it over and over again on the channel, here on the smAsho channel. And if Greenland is so melty, how come we've got 9 feet of snow from coast to coast all summer? If you don't believe us, go watch one of our videos from mid-July or mid-August. You'll see. I'm not lying. 9 feet of snow from coast to coast. Here's the Rutgers snowfall. And somehow it doesn't look to me like Northern Hemisphere glaciers are in danger of melting. Not this winter. So we'll be seeing how many don't melt over the summer and hoping that we have a summer with so many volcanoes kicking off. As we saw, no less than 5 stratospheric injections. I'll say no less than 3, actually, but in any case. Also, check us out on BitChute. Check us out there just in case the YouTube channel suddenly gets deleted with no warning or explanation. Perhaps watch our video about being ungoogleable. Now, this one's on YouTube also, but we highly recommend you check out BitChute as there will be more exclusive content coming. Let's talk about the Parker Solar Probe. There it blasts through the LASCO C3 image from the SOHO. And it's just a phys.org article talking about revealing the physics of the sun a little bit. It doesn't really talk about anything groundbreaking, and we've been covering this for days on the channel. So anyway, there's some lovely animations that they put together there, as well as feeds to the Whisper thing and this other animation that was made by somebody else and then just altered and yada, yada, yada. Links to the article shall be below the video. As we start talking about fast things, now that we've gotten through talking about slow things like climate change, let's talk about magnetic fields coming out of neutron stars, which we should refer to as neutron stars.